People always talk about how to prepare physically for having a child, but nobody ever talks about how to prepare mentally and emotionally. So if you're pregnant or you have just had your child, these things will definitely help you in your motherhood journey. I practice these consistently every day and have done for the last 6 years. Get into the habit of checking in with your emotions often. Sometimes I check in with my emotions every 10 minutes if I'm having a really tough day. I just ask myself, how am I feeling right now? And most importantly, what can I do to get myself into a better mood? If you get really good with checking in with yourself, you will not lash out at your kids as often. And if you get really good at soothing yourself and actively calming yourself down when you feel overwhelmed, before you get to the point of lashing out, you'll be able to cope with anything that motherhood throws at you. Next, start practicing taking accountability and then letting it go. You are not going to be perfect. You are going to have to apologize. But wrecking yourself with guilt afterwards is not going to be. Did that just cut off? Wrecking yourself with guilt is not going to help. You are human. You're going to make mistakes. You've apologized. There is nothing more that you can do. The perfect parent does not exist. So repairing through connection is going to be your best friend. And the next best thing is figuring out what happened and the steps you need to put in place to prevent that situation from occurring again. For example, you might need to learn how to regulate your emotions. You might need to actually take a break more often than what you are. You might need to learn effective communication. But what I do want you to understand is that these things are things that can be learned. They are skills. That does not mean that you are a terrible person. They are simply skills that you need to learn, that every parent needs to learn. So we don't talk negatively about ourselves. One of the biggest challenges for me to learn, and I really don't know how to say this nicely, is I had to learn how to shut my mouth. I was always someone that would retaliate immediately. And guess what? It got me nowhere. It just escalated the situation. And I wanted to be an emotionally intelligent parent. And that was getting in the way. This was getting in the way. So I really just had to learn to zip it. Zip it until I was calm. And then I could come out and talk about it reasonably. So I actually made it a challenge. Whenever someone would say something that I didn't like, the challenge was for me to just pause, breathe, think, and then respond. And sometimes that did mean that I had to come back and talk about it. But this will actually save you and your child a lot of heartbreak and a lot of built up anger and resentment. Not to mention you're actually setting a really great example for your kids. And what I do want you to understand about doing that is that the urge to retaliate will be there and it will reach a peak. And then once it reaches that peak, it will die away drastically and fast. So if you can just withstand the urge to retaliate until it reaches its peak and then it just gone. And then you can tell yourself, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. You can pat yourself on the back and it will save you. It will save your relationship with your kids. Your kids will lash out verbally, but you are the leader. You want to be the leader, okay? And you've got to remember that in those really hard moments.